Hey everyone, it is Stacy Dunham-Key with Nutrition Jobs. Thank you so much for joining today. I am doing sort of a special edition of our LinkedIn Live event. Unfortunately, our scheduled guest for today to talk about how you can make a big impact at work was at the last minute unable to join because of family issues. And so today, then, what I am going to do is something sort of special. I am going to have a unique opportunity to be able to talk a little bit about LinkedIn profiles and how we can optimize our LinkedIn profiles and do a bit of a review of some profiles and show you how to make some edits and some best practices that are out there to make it more magnetic and to attract opportunity and just to be sort of relevant in the game of your career as a dietitian to be. And so what I'm going to do is I made a quick little slideshow and I will walk through it with us today. This is being recorded, so there's lots of people that are going to be watching this. So I'm going to keep some of the review anonymized so that not everyone has to see all the juicy details about someone. But I think sometimes just having a little bit of review, looking at someone else's, it can trigger some thoughts and ideas about how you can make some updates or some edits in your own profile. And hopefully that you'll find some benefit from that as well. So again, thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry that we had to reschedule it, but let's go right into optimizing your LinkedIn profile. I am going to share with you, let me see if I can move my screen over here. I'm going to share with you what I believe to be like the main pillars of a LinkedIn profile. And if you've ever done a workshop with me or a class with me or a talk or course or anything, you'll know these pillars and that I believe in these pillars. And I think that can help set the framework for how you visualize what impact your LinkedIn profile can have. I'm not going to go through all the details about why you should be on LinkedIn and who is and who isn't and how it compares to the other social media platforms. I'm just going to dive right in, just assuming that you guys already are on board with the idea that LinkedIn is a really awesome profile that you should be on, platform you should be on. Okay, so first thing you want to think about is like what your vision is. What is your vision? How do you want to be seen on LinkedIn? How do you want to be found on LinkedIn? What's your main intention? So if you are a dietitian that works in clinical nutrition, maybe nutrition support, or maybe you're working on the medical surgical floors, maybe you're working as a culinary dietitian, those are all unique jobs and unique ways you can show up on LinkedIn. And think about how you want people to find you and what you want to have them do once they do find you. Maybe you want to work on a research project with somebody else. So you will make your LinkedIn profile attractive and highlight your research experience and what area of research you're into, maybe what skill set you have related to research. If you're that culinary dietitian, maybe you provide food demos, maybe they're online, maybe they're in person, maybe you do them around the country, maybe you just do them in your local town and you want more business towards that. Then that's sort of your intention and thinking that one through in terms of how you can get the word out about your services as an entrepreneur. If you are a clinical dietitian working on a medical surgical floor, or you are in a intensive care unit, or maybe you're working with patients with diabetes, and you want to give maybe some more talks, you want to travel around the country or do some online talks about how to optimize nutrition status in this specific patient population, or maybe you wrote a little ebook on snacking for people with gestational diabetes. So those are ways that you want to show up unique to yourself and to your skills and to your services. And that would be how you want to show up, saying that you're a virtual speaker or that you've got an ebook to sell, whatever it might be, in addition to your regular work. So you can show up in multiple ways, your one profile in multiple ways on LinkedIn. So that's the main part. So setting your vision and how you want to show up on LinkedIn. The next section is your profile. That's what I'm going to go through a little bit today. Showing up and making sure that your profile is complete. They used to call it all-star LinkedIn profile status. They don't use that terminology anymore. And they now just have a sort of a complete or like a temperature gauge at the bottom to make sure that you've had all your sections complete. And I'll walk us through some of those. Having your profile complete can help you show up in both searches and also when you're trying to connect with other people, it'll show up better that way as well and highlight your visibility a little bit better. The next element are your connections, the people that you connect with, all of your people in your network. So connections are different than followers. And I can talk about that if anyone is interested in that, but we'll just use the terminology connections because you have to have a certain number of connections to have your profile be complete in the eyes of LinkedIn. So connections are really important. That's how you can message people. That's how you can develop a deeper relationship with somebody on LinkedIn through your connections. And then last, that may not spend too much time talking about, but the last element is then engaging. Like once you've got all this stuff set up, you've got your vision, your profile, your connections, then the next big element is get out there and meet people and chat with people and create opportunities for them and be available for opportunities. So those are the pillars of LinkedIn. And here is my profile. I'm just going to show you a couple things on here. This is, let's see, do I have, well, there's two sections to it. So you'll see there's some different elements on my profile, and I'll go back to this one too. We'll look at some other ones as well. And you can see there's a few things that I want to call out on our profile. So this is what my profile looks like from my perspective. And when you look at your profile, you'll see that as well. You will not see, when you're looking at my profile, you will not see my dashboard or that section of my profile. But I just wanted to show you what that looks like. So I'm going to move down a couple slides and just show you what it is that LinkedIn is looking for. And what they call the complete status. The number one thing is the profile photo. I'll walk you through a couple things on that, but that has to be there. I like to say also the banner behind your photo should be, relevant to what you're doing. And I'll talk a little bit about that. They want you to include your industry. That's easy to do. You can include your summary and about section. That's a little more complicated. You could include your experience, your skills, and your endorsements. Endorsements are not required, but that's sort of in that same category. I'll show you how to do, I can show you how to do that as well. And then, whoops, I'm sorry, I've got like a trigger on my finger here. The last, the next section is your education section. That is required to be on there. You don't need to put the dates, but having your education section filled out is required. And that is because LinkedIn wants to be able to put you into a algorithm, and that formula requires your education so that you can find people that you went to school with and they can find you and you guys can connect, because that could be a really rich source of connections and people that you can maybe collaborate with in the future, or that you can see what they're doing and congratulate them on what they're working on. So that's really important to LinkedIn, but I think it's pretty valid too. And then the last section is connections, which we just talked about. So I'm going to go back up to mine and just show you a couple things. So one really important element, let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Okay. One important element of your LinkedIn profile is how your name shows up. And what you didn't see, what LinkedIn is requiring is having your name complete. And I think it's really important as nutrition professionals that we do include our credentials right up on top of our names, right there, right in that section. You can also include it in your headline, and your headline is something that was also not talked about by LinkedIn as being required, because they have a default statement to put into your headline. And you do want to edit your headline. You do want, this is an amazing, rich place for keywords for people to find you. Headlines like my favorite thing. Like we could spend a whole hour just talking about your LinkedIn headline. I won't do that today, but that is a really important element. This is where you can really show up as that culinary dietitian or the dietitian with the ebook, that you can provide some link to that there, not in your headline, but to show that that's what your authority is and your expertise is. So here is my photo. You can see it's a picture of me looking straight on. It was just a friend that took this with an iPhone in portrait mode. You can also see my background back here is something that is what I am working with. So I am a dietitian, but I work with other dietitians. I don't work with clients. I don't help people with their diets or help with cooking. I do love food and I do love cooking. So having food and cooking and stuff behind me on my banner would not be wrong, but it's just not relevant to what I do. It's just not relevant to the service that I am providing for my business. So that is something to think about, right? So you don't want to have, like, let's say you're a culinary dietitian, or let's say you're a lactation consultant. And what you don't want to have is in your banner, like a photo of the ocean or a photo of a bunch of cars, in a car lot. Like, those are interesting pictures, but they have nothing to do with the service that you are providing. So you want to make sure that that banner behind you on your profile is in alignment with the service that you want to show up for, in alignment with the intention and the vision that you have set and how you want to show up on LinkedIn. You can change that anytime. You can change it all the time. It doesn't have to be something you're stuck with forever, but that's how you want to perceive your banner. And then here's the profile photo. You can also include some links in here, some hashtags. That is when you are in what's called creator mode. You can have a few more options in your little top card, they call it. You can have some more sections in there. You can add more to this. You can say that you're providing services, or you can say that you are open for work. You can put a little halo around your profile photo that says that either you're hiring, or that you are looking for work, or that you are a freelancer you're available to be hired. So you can include that as well. And those are good for recruiters, but they're also good just to show other people what it is that you can do and how you want to show up. So let me just say one more word about your headline. This is really an important section to complete. And again, like I said, I could go on and on, but it is because it does show up in a lot of different searches, and it does show up every time you make a comment in someone else's profile. There'll be like the very top line. They'll see this very top line, sometimes two lines, depending on what the app or what the device is that someone is using. They can see who you are and what you do. So you want to put that right up there, what it is that how you can be of service, and that will help to attract opportunity. I get a lot of replies, or I get a lot of opportunity when I comment on somebody else's profile and they have seen me. Maybe they're not already following me, or they're not familiar with the work that I do, and they will tell me that that's how they found me. And then maybe we'll start either they'll work with me, or they will want to do a talk together, or whatever it might be. So the other thing is, so this is down here, which is called the creator mode that I was mentioning before. You can toggle it off and on. When you do toggle it on, a few things shift around on your profile. One thing that does shift is your featured section and your activity. They kind of swap places, which is optimal. That's what you want. People don't need to know like every single comment that I make on other people's profiles. I do like them to see the work that I do. And so that's why I like that we can move this featured section up a little bit higher, so that people looking at my profile can see this featured section. And so you can add in and edit. These are just screenshots, so I can't, these are not enabled icons, but you can add any kind of content that you want to bring attention to people looking at your profile. So if you are a recipe developer, you could actually create a video of yourself, or take from your social media account. You can take a video of yourself putting together a recipe and looking at the end product. And maybe it's working with another brand. Maybe you want to work with other brands. You can put that video, and if let's say you have it up on YouTube, you can put that right in here into the featured section. So people can get a quick little description of what it is, and then they can click on it, and that takes you right over to where that content is, or where that media is. If you are a researcher, you can put in your PubMed publications, the link to it right in here in this section. You can also include it in the body of your experience if you wanted to do that as well. These are just some options. So you can put a document, or you can put a shared document. You can put, if you are a media dietitian and you have a an article that you recently wrote, you can put a link to that right here in your featured section as well. You can move these guys around. You can do all kinds of stuff. So these are past LinkedIn Live events that I've done, and I upload them onto YouTube, and they're made public. And then that's a way for me to make them available for other people to see going forward after the event. Those are the main sections I wanted to highlight on this section. Let me move over to, let me see if I had anything else on this one. This was just an older version of my LinkedIn profile when I first started. And you can see I didn't have creator mode turned on. It wasn't available then. And so now I have a lot of connections, but I also have a lot of what are now followers. I think there are like 9,000 followers now. The difference between followers and connections is connections, we can see each other's content. I can see theirs, they can see mine. We can have a conversation. We can direct mail each other. Versus a follower, the followers can see all of my content. They can have it all available to them. Any articles that I post or videos that I post or instructionals or invitations to events, but they cannot connect with, they cannot have a conversation with me directly, and I can't see their content. They may still request a connection, and that works as well. And you can be both a follower and a connection too. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick review of somebody who sent me their LinkedIn profile, and I'm making it sort of anonymous. So if it looks like a lot of stuff is blocked off, it's because it is. So this person is a media dietitian. This is their headline right here. I took their name out. Their name had their credentials after it, I believe, which is awesome. And they put in here that they're a media spokesperson, a social media marketing, and they are a registered dietitian. So that's a really great headline. Those are really great keywords that people are going to connect with. She's got some additional space here. So if she had something else, maybe she's a recipe developer, maybe she's a food blogger, maybe she's an author of a published book that you can get on Amazon, or some other expertise, or likes to work with brands, a brand ambassador, or maybe there's a specialty of nutrition that she focuses in on. Maybe it's pediatric nutrition or teen nutrition or sports nutrition. She could actually add that in here. The other thing I noticed is her connection numbers. She's been working for a while, so her connections should be a little bit higher than this, and so that could be something that she can work on. She's got a really great profile, so she can start working right now to make some connections, and she can look at what LinkedIn provides. She can also, and they make some suggestions for your connections. She can also go over to someone else's connection. So if she and I are connected, we're not yet connected, but if she and I were first degree connections, then she could look at my followers and look at people's names and their headlines and see who she would want to connect with. Maybe I know somebody that works for a publication that she's interested in knowing. Maybe I know another media dietitian, or I'm connected with another brand ambassador, and maybe they can collaborate on something together. So there's some real big benefit in having a lot of connections related to the work that you're doing. I have a lot of connections because I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time, and that's very helpful. I will also often go through and look at some really old connections I had. Maybe I got 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and see if that connection is still relevant. If it's not relevant, then I might just unconnect with them, or maybe I'll just follow them instead so I can see what kind of work that they're doing and see when it comes up in my feed. So that's an option. This information is what I didn't do. I didn't look at her contact information to see what's in there. I didn't highlight it, but you can include some different links you can include to your website. You can include to that Amazon link to your book that you've created. You've got a few options in there. Of course, you can include your phone number and your email address if you want to. Just be prepared, though, that becomes public. And once somebody's connected with you, so you can make that decision if you want to include that there or not. Okay, I'm going to scroll down then to her about section. And so she's got a really nice about section saying what she is. She can talk a little bit more about what her services are. So she's a media spokesperson. I don't know what that means. I don't know that that means like she wants more business or that she's really busy already. Maybe she doesn't need more. She could put the link to her media kit in here. That can also go into her featured section. She could put information about people she's worked with before. She could talk about like a whole list of her services that she provides. She could also include examples of the type of work that she can do for somebody, for a brand or for the media. Maybe she's a nutrition blogger, and so maybe she knows SEO really well. She could make a mention of that in her about section, or what I can do for you, or here's how you can work with me. Here are my services. So this is good. This reminds me though of something she could have, her current one, something she could have on her resume, her professional summary, that little section that comes right after your contact section. So this is great. She's adaptable and collaborative. I like that. But I want to know, like, what can you do for me? How can I benefit from working with you? So that is sort of the headline, the big element here that I would recommend that she work with and take a look at. You can also look at other people's LinkedIn profiles that do something very similar with that you do, and look at how they lay out their about section, and you can just see. She can look at mine and she can see how I have mine laid out. Work with me, or here's how I can help you. And that might be of help. So here's her experience. This looks really good. She's highlighted her skills, which is awesome. This is a new thing that LinkedIn is providing. She could also maybe put in here working as a corporate dietitian with this big company. She could also put in here maybe some really big things that she has done. She's included some links to some of the work that she's done, which is awesome. That is gold. That is really gold. So she could put some additional stuff like that. She specializes in TV appearances, or she likes to do print material, and maybe how often she does that, or maybe some, like how you would have in your resume, your quantifiable work success bullet points, maybe just a couple things, because she's been there for quite a while. So she could definitely include some things that she has done. Maybe she does a TV segment once a week. She could certainly include that, and that would trigger maybe another agency or a podcast or somebody else to learn about that, learn what service she provides. And then she could have more collaborations or more business that could come out of that. So that's really good. The other thing, I'm not going to scroll down. There's not anything else that I have down below here. But the other thing is she could have some recommendations. I'm a big fan of the LinkedIn recommendations. I think those are super, super helpful. They cannot be fudged. You can't like write someone's write a recommendation for yourself or a testimonial. And these come from your connections, and they are so valuable. So that could be something, maybe one of her coworkers or her boss or a manager at her current job, past jobs, or a project that she's worked on could write a quick recommendation that is in alignment with the skills and the services that she wants to continue providing. So I tell the story how I asked a dear friend to write a LinkedIn recommendation. They came back and they wrote one that was really beautiful and very glowing and just, well written, just a wonderful recommendation. But it was about my services as a clinical dietitian and how I'm able to be a good cook. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. However, do you mind going back and rewriting it and talking more about how I can help dietitians with their resumes and their LinkedIn profiles and helping them feel more confident and prepared for job interviews, right? Like that's really what I'm trying to be of service and be able to come up in search results for. Not about my cooking. Thank you so much, but not about my cooking. So you can direct your people that you're asking a recommendation from to give you what it is that you want. So she could have some recommendations in here. Those are really, really valuable. If she is on TV, maybe she can have one of the individuals she's worked with. Maybe it's the producer. That's a really valuable one, that maybe this person was on time. This person always delivered, was always a day ahead in their deliverables. So some of those things could be very, very helpful and very useful in terms of being able to show up for collaborating or working with other people again too. Those are the key ones. And then I would just recommend that she work on her connections. So there's a few things that she could do. And already she has enough in here, a bare bones that's really good, that she can go out and try to make some more connections, which I always highly recommend for everyone to do. But she can also optimize it a little bit more. Okay, so that's it for sort of the reviewing. And I was just going to share, I do have lots of courses that you might find of benefit. They're all very affordable for job interviewing, an instant profile on-demand workshop, and then looking at your LinkedIn profile in more in depth. And then of course, I always have my dietetic resume template bundle. I've got lots of different ones that you can use that are in Canva. I also have a Word document that you can get in there and edit on your own as well, that you can download. Do follow me on YouTube, hit the little subscribe. That way we can reach lots of people with all this information, and connect with me if you haven't already. And let me get this out of the way. I thank you all so much for sticking in for this particular episode of our LinkedIn Live. And I hope you can show up for when it does get rescheduled, when we talk about how you can make a big impact at work. And we've always got LinkedIn events, so I do hope to see you again in the future. All right, bye for now, everyone. That's who's coming next week. Bye for now, everyone.